This week, it's all about Cajun food, and we're doing red beans and rice. We've got the one with andouille sausage and this one without andouille. Join us. Hi, welcome back to One Dish, Two Ways. So today we are getting very close to Mardi Gras season. And so we wanted to do some sort of Mardi Gras Cajun dish. So we decided red beans and rice would be an awesome one in a household where you eat two different ways. So I'm Sheila, and behind the camera is Joe. And we live in a household together. We're empty nesters at this point. And I eat whole food, plant-based, or as close as I can to that, because I've cured my migraines with that kind of diet. And Joe eats more standard American diet, a little bit on the keto side. So we try to do dishes to show people how easy it can be when you live in a household that eats differently. So the red beans and rice is a perfect example of that, because the red beans are not going to have any meat in them. We will do the sausage on the side. So traditionally with Cajun food, what I have started here is I've got 1 cup of diced onions, a half a cup of diced bell pepper. I happen to have red on hand, but you could use green pepper or yellow or orange, it doesn't matter. And half a cup of diced celery. I think behind me, that's our Foster Balto. He's a Siberian Husky. In Cajun cooking, in general American cooking, the mirepoix is always onions, celery, and carrots. But in Cajun cooking, there is no carrots. You replace that with the bell pepper. And that's how a lot of Cajun dishes start. And that's how red beans and rice is going to start. So these are just in a pan. The pan just has a little bit of water in it. I don't use any oil to saute. I do a water saute. And we're just letting them cook for about 5 minutes. And it's been about 3. So we did a little bit before we came on camera. And we're letting that cook. So everything you would traditionally have in red beans, the broth, or any recipe, you can put vegetable broth in to make it an easy swap so everyone can eat it. And in this case, I'm doing the sausage on the side. That way Joe can add the sausage to his serving. And generally this is served with white rice. And all I did was replace it with brown rice. He does not care which rice it is. In fact, rice isn't his favorite grain anyway. So he won't eat a ton of this. This will be a lot for me, but he'll definitely eat 1 or 2 servings of it. So regarding the sausage, that calls for andouille sausage and red beans and rice, which I had a hard time finding at our grocery store. We live in Central Illinois, so not surprised. But I found some chicken andouille, and it happened to already be sliced. But you can use any kind of smoked sausage that you want. The smoked sausages are already cooked. So really all you're doing in your skillet, or if you were cooking it in with the beans, you could do that. If you're water sauteing, you see that the vegetables are starting to stick a little bit. So I'm going to add a little bit of the vegetable broth. I don't want to use one that I need dry for. So here's my vegetable broth. I need 4 cups total, but I'm just going to add a little bit into my pan just so my veggies don't stick. Okay. And I'll finish talking here. Where was I going with that? This is live cooking, y'all. The sausage. So you're really just getting the sausage, getting a good color on it. So while the beans are cooking, because they're going to take about 20 minutes, and we'll get into that in a second, I will cook the sausages in a skillet. And you would normally slice them, and then you're just going to try to get some color on them and get them heated thoroughly through. If you were not, everybody in your household ate meat, you could put it in and let it cook with the beans. But actually, I think it's better if you get a little bit of that color on it and then add it to the top. So you can do either. So these are looking good. They're starting to get translucent. So now we want to start adding our aromatics in. And so first we're going to start with 4 cloves of garlic. So I've already got my garlic here ready to go and minced up. So I'm just going to add that. You don't want to start the garlic with all the other veggies, because it will start to burn, and you don't want that. You want to add it after the veggies have started cooking, and you're only going to, so you can already smell it. You only want to use or saute it without any liquid for about a minute, or until you can smell it, so that you don't burn it. So we can already start to smell it. And again, the veggies are starting to stick a little, so I'm going to add a couple more tablespoons of the vegetable broth. Just like that. The next thing about Cajun cooking is the spices. Now, I happen to have some Cajun seasoning, so that's what I'm going to use. But primarily, it's paprika, which makes it different than other seasonings that you have. My guess is you have some Old Bay or you have some Cajun seasoning in your cupboard. If not, you could Google like what goes in a Cajun seasoning, and I bet you already have everything in your cupboard. But I'm going to use 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning, and we're going to add that now. So the garlic has been cooking for about 45 seconds. So we can already smell it. It's doing good. So we're going to start adding our actual spices so that they can bloom. So we want 2 tablespoons of our Cajun seasoning. So this is a mixture. It's a mixture of several that we had gotten. Just be careful. Sometimes they have a lot of salt. And so if you're worried about salt, make sure you take that in consideration when you look at the package. It's amazing. My husband had some French fry seasoning, and it actually had beef bouillon. Who would have thought that would have beef in it, but it did. And we're going to do a teaspoon of black pepper. And this is going to let those spices bloom while this heat is going and we're on these veggies. So we're just going to let them bloom for about 1 minute. And then we're going to add all of our beans and all of our liquid so that we can start making this. I'm going to call it a sauce for lack of a better term. Boy, does this smell good. Does that smell good, Joe? Excuse me. You can definitely smell it. Okay. So let's get oh man, this smells so good. Let's get our liquids in there. So we're going to start with 1 15-ounce can of, I actually was able to find no salt added, but I'm going to do tomato sauce. You could do diced tomatoes. Joe doesn't really like little chunks of tomato, so I went with tomato sauce. It's a 15-ounce can. And just like I do with all my other recipes, anytime you use a can of something, if you then need to add water or vegetable broth, go ahead and add it into here and then pour it in. That way you get all of your liquid, all of your tomatoes out of here. This is 4 cups of vegetable broth. So we're going to add it to the tomato sauce can so we can get all that tomato sauce out. Makes it easier also when you're recycling the can. You don't have to clean it as much. Okay, so now we've got our vegetable broth and our tomato sauce in there. Now we're going to add 1 tablespoon of low sodium tamari sauce, or you could use soy sauce. Ooh, look at that. Hey, just enough. Wow, that was awesome. Okay, we're going to add a tablespoon of hot sauce, and we're also going to serve this as an optional topping. Totally up to you. If you don't like a lot of those bold flavors, you cannot add it. Same with this recipe. You could really, if you just want red beans and rice, you don't have to add Cajun seasoning. You could add any other seasoning you want. Totally make it your own, and also what you have in the house. You don't have to go out and buy something special every single time. Most of us have a lot of these things in our house and just adapt with what you have. You got buffalo sauce instead of, I'm using sriracha. That's just the hot sauce we have. Use whatever you have. Next, lastly, we're going to add now this is 4 cups of cooked kidney beans. You could use the small red beans. Those are very hard to find, by the way. This is equal to 3 cans of kidney beans that I rinsed and I drained. And oh my gosh, this is going to be so good. So now we just need to mix all this up because we want to get this to a low simmer, and then we're going to cover it, turn it down to a low to medium heat. And we're going to let it simmer, make this sauce for about 20 to 30 minutes is all it's going to need because your beans are already cooked. There are several recipes on the internet if you wanted to start with dry beans, and it takes like 2.5 hours to cook. But I went with beans that were already cooked just so it wouldn't take so long. So this is looking awesome. And then we must add the obligatory bay leaves. And Joe always asks, why does that need to be added? It's just something you do in cooking. Most of the cooking class I've ever taken, you use it. Now these, you put them in their hole, and then you're going to dig them out before you actually serve. Nobody wants to eat a bay leaf, that's for sure. But it does impart lots and lots of flavor. So let's just get them underneath. Okay, so we're going to get this back up to a rolling boil and then cover it and then turn it down and let it simmer for 20 to 30 minutes. So while that's simmering, if you haven't already, you will cook your sausage if you haven't already added it to here. The other thing is you'll go ahead and cook your rice. Now, Joe got me a sushi making kit, so I was experimenting with it last night. So I needed rice, and so I made a big batch of brown rice. And so I have leftover brown rice that I'll heat up so that when we serve these bowls and show you guys how we make it, that we'll be able to add this to it. So that's what we're going to do. And this sauce should thicken. And if it doesn't, I have a tip for you that you can use in other recipes also when we come back. So we're going to, like I said, let this come up to temp to get it back up to the boiling, turn it down and cover it and let it cook for 20 to 30 minutes. And we'll see you back here then. Welcome back. So it's been about 25 minutes. So as you can see, we've got the sausage. It's good to go. It's got that color on it. It's heated all the way through. So I've turned this burner off. This burner I turned off also because I knew it was really bubbling in there. We've got our rice heated up, so it's in our bowls. So let's open this up. Whoa! Oh my goodness, it smells so good in here. Okay. So first and foremost, let's dig out the bay leaf. Okay, there's two. So there's one. Usually, there they go. They float to the top. So when you are ready to take them out, try not to stir too much. They usually come to the top of whatever dish you're making. So look at this. This is looking good. You can see from the original line of where the liquid was, it has cooked down some, but maybe you want a little thicker. So let me give you a tip here. We're going to take our potato masher and we're going to gently just crush some of the beans so that we can thicken this up just a little bit. Now, another option, if you had like a soup and you wanted to thicken that, you could get an immersion blender and then immersion blend some of it, or take some of the soup out, put it in your high-speed blender, and then and then put it back in. It's an easy way to thicken if you don't want to have to add any thickening ingredients. In this case, we want the beans, it's red beans and rice. So we just want to do it a little bit. And see, that just thickened it up just a little bit. I'm going to do 1, 2 more. You want to be very careful that you don't like spill all your liquid everywhere. So this is now looking phenomenal. If you did not want your beans to be this soupy, I want that because I want the rice to have all that flavor. You could just add less vegetable broth. You could always add more at the end. But look at how beautiful this sauce is. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let me make mine up. So I'm going to want a lot of that sauce because I am a saucy girl. I like that stuff. Joe's not as much of a saucy person as me. So, honey, how much do you, this is mine. So let me make yours. Tell me when to stop. And obviously I'm going to put sausage on yours too.
That's probably good.
Okay. And then, that good on sausage? Okay. So let's bring it over here and let's talk optional toppings. So I've got some of the more popular ones. I've got a little bit of cilantro. Tip on your herbs when you bring them home, treat them as a bouquet. Take them out of the packaging that you have. If it has one of those rubber band thingies on, take that off. And in this case, cilantro, so I use the short mug, put a little water, and then I just keep this in the front part of the fridge. And now I've got fresh cilantro anytime I want it this week, or I can blend it into a sauce, whatever I want to do. I am a huge fan of cilantro, so I'm going to add some to mine. Honey, did you want cilantro? Okay. I'm also a huge green onion fan. So I'm going to I always keep green onions when I do meal prep. I always cut them up so they're ready to go. I'm going to put a few on. I'm not going to put hot sauce because I want to see what it tastes like before I put hot sauce on it. So, honey, do you want to come in and taste it? So I'm going to mix it around. That way, maybe it will cool it off just a hair. Look how delicious that looks. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and it smells so good too. Okay, so I want to get a little bit of cilantro and green onion in there too. Tastes like when I visited New Orleans. What are your thoughts?
Very good.
Is it too spicy?
No, it's actually just kind of hits you right at the end.
Mm-hmm.
It's not real pungent up front. It's just kind of a little bit of heat at the end, though. It's really good.
Mm. So tell us in the comments, what's one of your favorite Cajun dishes either you like to eat or you like to make, or both you like to make and eat? If you like what you see, if you could share it with your friends or subscribe, that would be fantastic. Thank you all so much for joining us this week on One Dish, Two Ways, and we'll see you next week.